All right, friends, let's settle in. Welcome to today's meditation time. Wherever you are, I invite you just to let your body get comfortable. Let the ground beneath you, whether that's on the floor, in a chair, on the bed, wherever you are, just let it really support you so that the body can become comfortable. And as the body feels like it's secure and stable and steady, you can trust that as you close your eyes and turn your attention to your breath. Just a slow breath in and out. Just really arriving into this moment. And whatever activity there was just moments ago, just stepping away from it. And really giving yourself a chance to just be here. So as you notice that breath, maybe you make it a little longer, a little deeper. So just slow down the inhale, really fill yourself up as much as you comfortably can. Take it all in. And then just as slowly begin to release, letting go of what you don't need. Again, breathing in, feel the way that the ribs begin to just engage and expand. And then exhale. Notice how the body begins to release. And breathing in and breathing out. And the Yoga Sutra that we are sitting with today, it's still connected to this idea of asana, this idea of how we move our bodies and what we do to find comfort and ease. But interestingly enough, it's about how do we use our body, the physical parts of us, to begin to move away from these dualities that we struggle with so often. It seems like every part of our world, everything is divided into this or that. Things that we like and things that we don't like. Things that give us pleasure, things that cause pain. And it's like almost every single thing that you could think of just in these next few seconds, you could almost divide it into one or the other. And from a logical perspective, that all sounds like it makes sense, right? Something is either good or bad. It's light or dark. It's right or wrong. But what our yoga practice, our meditation practice teaches us is that we need to move away from these dualities. Move toward oneness. Move toward realizing that all of these parts exist within and that we want to find a pathway to allow them to exist in harmony. Instead of feeling like we're constantly going from one side to the other, up and down. Because what tends to happen is if we stay in this mindset of these dualities, of this or that, we get unbalanced really quickly. And then all of a sudden, our sense of reality gets skewed. We begin to see reality as this or that, good or bad, instead of just as it is. And so I love this sutra. So just listen to these words, this translation. It's Yoga Sutra 2:47 and 48. And what he says in the translation is, when you can use these postures to find both tension and release, it will lead you toward union. And through the tension and the release, duality loses its effect on you. So just think about that. Think about a yoga posture, this physical way we move our body. We stand on one leg. We plant our hands and move into a down dog. We do all these things with our physical body. And so just think about when you do that, there's this element of contraction. There's this tension. And then there's this element of release. And what you do in your postures is you've got to find that sweet spot right in between the two. Because if you hold a physical posture the entire time tensed up and just contracted, all you will do is create new tensions within you. But if you also are just constantly releasing and letting go, you're never going to find the engagement of what the body is able to do. And so rather, these sutras tell us, find that sweet spot right in between. That is where duality starts to lose its hold on you. And that is where your sense of reality becomes a little sharper, a little more focused, a little more clear. And so we're going to practice that, just a few ways together. So I would invite you, just wherever you are, just be comfortable in your seat or lying down, just whatever that physical posture is that you have found. And just take your hands and turn them over so that your palms are up and your backs of your hands are resting, maybe on your legs, maybe on the tabletop, maybe on the cushion next to you. And just notice how relaxed the hands feel. And if we went through life with the hands just like this all the time, we probably wouldn't get a whole lot done. But then begin to close your hands into fist, wrapping the thumbs around the fingers, and just begin to tense those hands up. And feel that engagement running through the hands and the wrists and the arms. I can feel it in my shoulders. And just think, what if you went through life like this? You also wouldn't be able to get very much done. Now gently begin to release. Notice how the hand feels. And then close the hand and open it. And tense and release. Just one more time, tense and release. And now feel how the fingers, as you kind of wiggle them, feel how they feel a little more alive. If the hands just lay there fully released and limp, they don't feel very vibrant. But once you've pumped them a few times, you've tensed, you released, you feel the blood moving, you feel the cells a little activated. And what's happening here is your hand is learning that it needs both. It can't go through life tensed up, nor can it go through life completely checked out. It's got to find the balance between the two. And then notice it with your breath. Begin to take a slow, deep breath in and notice how there is this element of tension as the rib cage begins to just expand. You feel this motion happening all through your torso. And then as you exhale, notice how the body begins to release. And as you breathe in again, that rib cage starts to expand. There's this element of tension. And as you breathe out, it releases. And you know you need both. You need the engagement of the breath in, and you need the release of the breath out. And those examples are simple enough, I know, but what about the stuff of life? What about the behaviors of people? What about the memories in the past that we're grappling with? How do we begin to lessen our default way of dividing it into this or that? Good or bad? Mistake or success? Trauma or celebration? There's so many situations that we go through. There are so many relationships that we have that if we're not careful, we will begin to divide them into one or the other. And it's no different than walking around with our hands tensed up all the time. It's no different than just holding on to the inhale and never letting it go into the exhale. And while those two sound illogical, we do it all the time with the other parts of life. But this Yoga Sutra promises us that if we can begin to move away back toward the center, the impact of these dualities will begin to have less and less of a foothold in our lives. Our default will change. I've found myself lately, as I've been sitting with this for the last few months, because this one is hard. We see something, we automatically assign it a label. We like it or we don't. It makes us feel good or it doesn't. That person brings good to our life and that person doesn't. And I've really been very careful in the last several months that as I talk about things, I talk about them as they are. To the point that sometimes I hear myself saying out loud, I'm not assigning judgment here. I'm just stating exactly as things are or were. And it's like I have to keep telling myself I'm not assigning judgment. I'm not putting him into a category. I'm just relaying information of what is. And I think what I'm doing over these last several months is I'm just trying to retrain my brain. I'm relying on this neuroplasticity of all these patterns in my head that I can retrain them. And what I'm finding is that it works. Because I still encounter people that months ago I would have been categorizing as good and bad and right and wrong. And now I'm able to just say what is. It's not perfect. It's not 100% yet. But it is vastly different than it was. And so what I'd like us to do is just sit with that encouragement that this is possible. And just notice as you sit in the next moment or so of quiet, which is the duality that you struggle with. Maybe it's about a relationship and someone's behavior or how they speak or how they act. Maybe it's about a past thing that just keeps coming up and the mistakes and the guilt and all the things you keep assigning again and again to yourself. Maybe it's the uncertainty about something in the future. And so whatever it is that causes you to label things as one or the other, this or that, just pick one and let's sit with that for these few minutes or for this next couple of minutes. And as you do, if you find yourself beginning to categorize it and label it again, tense up those hands and then let them go. Like you're trying to retrain yourself to realize there's tension and there's release, and I've got to find the balance between the two. Breathing in and breathing out. And let's just pause, each with our own thing. Just be with it and notice. Notice the impact that it has on you today. And maybe dream into and manifest the lessened impact that you want it to have on you in the future. And as you continue to breathe and be and notice, I want to just offer you again the assurance you can change your default. One of the most important relationships in my life is where I've been practicing this for many months. Because before I really thought I was right and I really thought this person was wrong and they just needed to fix their decisions and life would be good. And I committed to this sutra right here of, I want to start just saying how things just are. I want to name the situation, say it, and not prescribe any judgment to it. And I very overtly have been practicing this. And not only has it changed the relationship that I have with this person, maybe not even knowingly to them, but it's changed my outlook. But it has also made me notice how often people are doing this to one another around me. I see it on social media. I hear it in conversations, and it breaks my heart. Partly because I wish that they could practice and try it, but also because I remember that this is how I was. All we can do is choose one behavior at a time that we want to work with, that we want to sit with. And I don't know about you, but I like the idea of these dualities having less impact and less control over my life, less of a foothold. So trust your brain that those patterns can change. And trust the assurance that this does work. And when you need a reminder, just tense up that hand and think, I would never go through life like this, so why am I putting everything in a this or a that category? Find your way back toward the middle, back to your heart, back to your soul. Because that is where these dualities lose all their power. So let's close out our practice with just a deep, slow breath in. Feel the way the body is just really activated and engaged. And then slowly release and let it go. Namaste, friends.